Our tracks on the beat.
Meet up in New York City. I am Abby Harris, your host today.
What up, what up? Welcome to Beyond the Blockchain. I am your host, Abby Harris. Good morning. Good morning. What's up? It is Beyond the Blockchain. I am your host, Abby Harris. Good morning. It is Monday, January 22nd. This week we have a dope guest coming on, but I will be getting into some of the topics that's happening for the day. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in the news that we want to talk about. I'm just like I said, I always start off with let's start off with, look, I'm like I'm not together, right? No, let's start off with these Bitcoin prices today. Look at this at 4,000, 40,006. You know what? Before we even do that, I want you guys to check this out. I always look at this dude. I always look at this dude. He always have information that I'm always interested in. There we go. What is Ash talking about today? If you survived. No. He's seen something that I seen yesterday that I was looking at that I want you guys to check out. Look, that's funny. These are all the people that's waiting for Bitcoin to hit 50,000. But let's go through the prices. If we can hold, if not, you already know we're going to be, you see the prices. I'm just going to go through these prices real quick. Everything is in the red zone today. Everything. It looks real crazy. Everything is in the red zone. Moving on. Ron DeSantis decided to end his presidential run. That is interesting. I didn't think he had a chance anyway. The way this thing looks, we already know there's certain things that doesn't even be said. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to keep it moving. GameStop said goodbye. Unfortunately, there was a lot of things about GameStop that we all held on to, and we thought that this was going to be a progressive NFT situation with GameStop. We thought games was going to be totally NFTs and we be playing NFTs, but that market is still there. I guess it's not there for a brick and mortar store. So let's keep it moving. I talked about this briefly yesterday on my show about Twitter. X is launching this payment system. It is one of the biggest social media sites. I can't see it not going into the e-commerce space because a lot of people use it for multiple things. So I have a firm belief that because Elon is so progressive in the Doge, there will be transactions with crypto in this space. We're going to keep it moving. This right here, I've been seeing, which I think is funny, but it's not funny. Okay? It's funny, but it's not funny. All right? I'm going to say it again. It's funny, but it's not funny. And it's not funny because this man has taken God and his people in his church and created a crypto coin and said that God was the ultimate excuse me. You know, I don't mean to laugh at people who have lost their money or who got caught up in the whirlwind of being misled by scammers, but scammers come all shapes and colors. And once again, you need to do your own research. If the people in the church or some of the people in the church would have did their research and said that, I figured out that there's no liquidity provided in this church token, this church coin that you actually selling this, and it doesn't have any value. This is the common sense. But when they got you when he's using the word God and he says God is doing this, God is doing that, But what I did was I got the interview of him talking about I'm sorry. I just think this is just so funny. I'm sorry, but we're gonna listen to him telling his parishioners that God told him to use the money to fix his house.
Hello.
Listen, this Monday I didn't plan on being funny, but this one was funny. This one was funny. This is like, I'm sorry, like I gotta keep apologizing because some people don't know about what happens within this space and how scammers. And this is one of the biggest ones. Like, and look what he's using. Like, the devil was coming after this gentleman.
Hello, Index Coin family. Eli Regalado here. And I know it's been a long time since I posted a public update. All of our updates.
Hold on, before I even finish playing, do you remember, I don't know if you guys seen it, but Charlemagne God was telling DJ Enough, don't say nothing, let your lawyers speak. And then that was the worst thing that he could have did, because then they made it all the blogs and everything. And in this situation, I wish I could tell him, this doesn't make any sense. What you're doing is just going to cause harm. And now this little news went global on you.
Updates are actually being posted currently on the utility section of the community. So if you don't have access to that, please email me at eli@indexcoin.com. We're reserving that for people who have.
When people talking, they doing a lot of blinking like this, you can't trust them.
Have purchased Index Coin. So this update is to really just take some things head on. I'm not reading from a script, and I didn't prepare any notes like
He's not reading from a script, guys.
I normally do. And I was asking the Lord what he wanted me to say, and he said, just let me speak through you. So let me just come out first and foremost by saying that Caitlin and I are being charged in a civil charge from the Colorado Securities and Exchange Commission for basically selling millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency that is deemed worthless by the state. Now, the reason that they're saying that it's
you know why they saying it's worthless?
worthless is because there is no exit for people who have bought. So everyone that's watching.
So back in the days when I first got into Web3 and crypto, I was jumping on a bunch of different exchanges, and then I got caught into one of them exchanges to where you could not get your money out. And that's another scheme within the crypto space where it's easy for them to take your money, but then try to get it out. That's where the hard part is. So once again, all of this stuff relies on doing your own research.
This, who has put money into this, who wanted to take money out, you've been unable to do that. We launched an exchange. The exchange technology failed. Things went downhill.
The technology failed. Yeah, short of $300,000.
And from that point forward, we've just been waiting on the Lord, literally for a miracle. So
that man said he waiting on the Lord for a miracle. I'm waiting on the Lord too. Lord, please run Bitcoin up to $300,000.
So the charges are that Caitlin and I pocketed $1.3 million, and I just want to come out and say that those charges are true. So there's been $1.3 million that's been taken out of, I think.
Well, we know that he believes in the commandments, right? Thou shalt not lie. So he did tell you guys the truth.
I think it was a total of $3.4 million. But out of that 1.3, $500,000 went to the IRS, and a few $100,000 went to a home remodel that the Lord told us to do.
I'm just going to pause right there. The Lord told him to do. That's if the Lord says you're supposed to do it, then you're supposed to do it no matter what. No matter if you stealing from your parishioners, if you're taking from granny's purse, no matter, because the Lord say, according to this gentleman right here.
And so I don't want to try to mince words or try to escape, but I want to, if I can, just communicate to you heart to heart and tell you how we got here. And it wasn't just like we had $1 million sitting there and we decided to go crazy with it. So how this whole thing started is the Lord told us in 21 to walk away from our marketing company. And we have had a lot of success raising millions of dollars for different clients. And he said, I'm going to do a new thing. And then he took us into this cryptocurrency. It was a different cryptocurrency other than index coin at the time. Well, that.
You know what? I'm not even going to go no further. The fact that the Lord is telling him what to do, this goes to show you that the Lord needs to tell you to do your own research and don't follow all of these people. I don't know what Lord that he's talking about, but we are going to keep it moving. There's been a lot of funny stuff going on this last weekend. And we're just going to end this before we get into this interview with my boy, Manny Jackson. We're going to talk about Web3 and crypto. But I definitely want to just address this Saturday Night Live clip that they did on Cat Williams, and I think that it was very hilarious. Let's go there. Like I said, this is Beyond the Blockchain. Today's guest is Manny Jackson, Thread Haus. I don't want you to lose concept because I'm in here just talking about the news and telling you what's going on in just the world of space.
With over 50 million views, it was the conversation that broke the internet. Cat Williams.
It's the truth.
See, I can't even play this because they got the music playing and I don't want to get flagged. But if you get a chance to watch this little skit, the skit is very, very funny. And as we move on, without further ado, this is the Beyond the Blockchain podcast. This is the interview that I had with Manny Jackson, Thread Haus. I met this gentleman once again during NFT weekend. You're going to hear me talk about it within the interview. Also, I felt like there's a lot of projects out here that really talk about what they're doing, but not actually doing what they're doing. And this is one of the projects that is an example of someone who has took his passion and brought it into the Web3 tech space, and not only just digital, but he's using mental health, he's using his community, and he's building. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Manny Jackson. This is the interview of Thread Haus, Manny or Manuel Jackson. What should I even call you?
Yo, Manny Jackson is fine. That's what everybody call me, you know.
Yeah, so I was fortunate to meet Manny in NYC, I believe during NFT NYC weekend, which is a real crazy weekend in New York. It always reminds me of my first time going to a Miami South Beach trip during Memorial Day weekend. Let's say if you've been in South Beach in like the 2000s and from morning up to sundown to morning up, you just partying from party to party to place to place to network, and it doesn't stop. That was like one of the most greatest experiences that actually happens in New York once a year, and I got a chance to meet Manny, and I would like to introduce him to Beyond the Blockchain podcast. Manny, welcome.
Yo, thank you so much, AB, for having me, man. I really, really appreciate it, man. It's amazing what you're doing with this opportunity right here, and I'm glad that you gave me a call to welcome me onto your show, man. So appreciate you.
Absolutely. So I always start out with the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. So let's start out with like, who are you? Like, where you come from, your upbringing, like what pushed you into the direction you are, and you know.
Yo, so yeah, man. So my who is I'm originally from Raleigh, North Carolina, Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. I grew up out there. I have a lot of family on the East Coast. A lot of my family's in Connecticut, New York, DC, hence to where I get a lot of my East Coast swag, I guess. You know, I went to school in North Carolina, NC State University, transferred to actually go into fashion. So I studied psychology. I was a psych major, and then I went in and just started studying fashion. Moved out here to Los Angeles, California, and pursued my dream of being a fashion designer. I attended FIDM, Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in downtown LA, and I was able to pivot from there and start some of one of my first businesses, which was the Gents Closet. So from there I went into doing wardrobe styling. Simultaneously I worked in mental health as well. That was, like I said, my major was psychology, so I have been working in mental health field, man, probably since 20 plus years now, to be honest. And but fashion was always a passion as well, and so I was blessed to be able to, you know, kind of figure out throughout my journey how to merge them, and that's where I'm at now.
One of the things that we don't learn, or we've never been taught, is mental health coming up. We were just like, there was really no way I identified it, and some parents gave ass whippings, excuse me for cursing, for something that they didn't really understand, or the fidget or the agitation of something. So coming up as a child, was fashion something that did it come from you not having and feeling bad to say, I want to dress or I want to style? You understand what I'm trying to, my point?
Yeah, great question. So to be honest, man, so I was actually talking about this on something the other day. So let me take you back a little bit. What really got me inspired and really set me up in a creative space, I used to get bullied, you know what I mean? But I used to fight a lot. So I used to have to fight all the time growing up because I was, you know, light skinned, young, pretty, curly hair. You know, I didn't fit in with necessarily my, you know, growing up in the South, so I didn't necessarily fit in with always the Black community, and I didn't fit in with always the white community. So I was always this guy that was kind of like in between, and I wasn't really about cliquing. I always kind of was on my own, but growing up I fought a lot, so because I was small and everything like that. But what that did for me, it gave me a different level of confidence about myself, to always stand my ground. And I think that's where I've learned how to stand my ground and started early with that, of being different, right? And fast forward, what led me to look at things a little bit different, where I didn't have to fight so much. I started learning how to fight a little bit more articulately with my words and not so much with my hands. But that also came from me getting into fashion. I had always kind of wanted fashion, but my mother, my mom wouldn't like, she didn't like to buy me name brand stuff. My dad didn't mind, but my mom didn't want to buy me any name brand. So my dad would give her money and she wouldn't go buy me nice clothes. She would go buy me, you know, secondhand stuff. And so I dressed really preppy, hence to why I was always getting picked on and stuff. And so when I finally got a chance to start working and making my own money at the age of like 13, I started saving up my money and started working. I started buying clothes. And when I was buying clothes, the first time I bought clothes and I came to school and I was in a fresh look, like everybody wanted that look. And it was something that I had just kind of put together. So the next week I went and bought that same outfit again, and I sold that outfit. And that really, really started my journey in fashion, to be honest, because what that did was, like I said, I kind of started becoming a cool kid, right? Like no one would mess with me because my clothing was fly. I had a different type of personality, and everybody knew that I was very quick to fight. Like I didn't care how big you was, how small you was. If you wanted to fight me and you put your hands on me, it's going down. And that let people know, like, well, he's not really that the popular kid, but I'm cool, right? I was the cool kid, and I kind of stayed to myself. I had my friends. Don't get me wrong, but I had my friends. But at the same time, like, I kind of was into my own thing, and that journey led me to kind of focusing on clothing. So when my friends would go up north to buy certain things, I would go up north and buy clothing, and I would bring it back North Carolina, and I would sell clothes in barbershops. I would sell it around and everything. We was burning CDs. We was doing all sorts of stuff right there to make money. So I would sell it at the flea market. You know what I mean? I would sell it at flea market. So I was hustling just so I could look fly. And on top of that, I wanted to keep people around me looking fly too, because everybody always liked what I was wearing. So that really started my fashion journey. I had to kind of take you back, because I think that was a very that younger me was very pivotal, because it allowed me to learn my power. It taught me that it was okay to be different, and I used me being different to my advantage. I didn't use it to my disadvantage. I used it to my advantage, and that allowed me to kind of go into fashion, and fashion became really my superpower.
It's so funny because people don't talk about superpowers and they don't know where it comes from or how to identify it. What point of time? So it came from you finding your way, so to say, right?
Yeah.
The idea of going to New York, buying clothes for cheap, bringing this down south, barbershops. Now you building relationships. People know you around the neighborhood as the clothes guy. You the neighborhood guy. Plus, you fashionable. What was some of the influences though? Like, was it music? Was it hip hop? Like,
oh man, all day hip hop culture. You know, whatever New York was doing, you know, the Carolinas was trying to do it, right? So I was immersed in the hip hop culture. I used to rap. I used to want to be a rapper. That was my first passion, and I was nice with it. You know, me and my sister, we had a little group as well, and I was just so about that that lifestyle. And I remember when I was younger watching Beak Street and watching like how that younger generation was moving in the Bronx. And you know, when I went to the Bronx to visit my grandfather and just kind of getting all that culture and just picking it up and understanding how they was just kind of moving in the 80s. And they moved like rebels. They didn't really care about what everybody said. It wasn't about, you had to have fly clothes, but your fly clothes didn't come from you going to the store and buying. Your fly clothes came from you creating your style. And so that individual style and look for me became a big part and very significant into how I maneuvered with my own fashion and style as I continued to grow. And that's why the music and the culture of hip hop was so influential in everything that I was doing, the way that I talk, the way that I walk, the way that I actually put words together, the way I told stories. And it was just an influential time for me that helped me pivot everything that I was dealing with, from different cultural experiences down to different street situations, down to dealing with my own personal demons.
You made a reference to Beach Street. That is one of my favorite movies of all times.
All time.
Yeah, you took me there because I remember growing up, Harlem, Bronx. I remember empty lots. I remember the dogs. The dogs would chase you. They'd be deep. Don't get chased by the dogs. There used to be dogs everywhere.
Jump over a fence real quick. You know, so part of that, man, to be honest, growing up in the South too, because I can't take that away, because growing up in the South, growing up as a country boy and having always having a different type of twang, a different type of swag, but also being very true to being country. So like when I say being country, that means like you're around a lot of land. You're around a lot of, you're not in the city. You know, you're around trees, you're around squirrels, rabbits, deer. You know, hunting is a part of the culture. You know, red sand. You know what I mean? Like so growing up there and just experiencing the culture in the South for me growing up, but still heavily influenced by everything that was happening in hip hop culture that was influenced by the East Coast. It was so beautiful to see when the South started getting recognized for their talent. And I remember how me being different played into how I saw people like Outkast, right? Because I could relate to the Outkast, where I can relate to Andre 3000 so much more than I can relate to a lot of other rappers because of his ability to always kind of morph. You know, he was kind of like a what you call it, like a not a caterpillar, but what am I saying? He a chameleon. My bad. So he's more like a chameleon because he could morph into whatever he needed to be, and he was never questioned about him. And then when he stood his ground. So I related to that in a lot of ways. But my cousins, they introduced me to West Coast rap. They introduced me to the E40s of the world and the Easy E's of the world, right? And then that became a big part of how people started talking, right? Especially in the South, people would mix what they would hear that Easy E was saying. They'll mix it in with some Southern twang and everything like that. So it's music, culture, and hip hop was so very relevant to my overall story and my journey, man, that I continuously pay homage to it in my designs. I pay homage to it in my clothing and even in my stories.
That's really, really dope. Like influences, we don't realize they come from a lot of places. As it's like as we go through life, we just like pick up different pieces of influence, especially within our culture. And within saying that, you was talking about the South and coming outside and it's being just nothing but, you know, the suburbs. Like, you know, you got the woods and all of that. Compared to being in New York, you're outside in the mix of a bunch of people. Like, you know, both ways you become creative into dealing with the nature or the atmosphere or what you in. You know what I'm saying? So, but North Carolina, for me, it's always that place where it's that in between, because it's like you're in between New Yorkish and Virginia-ish, right? The New York and the DC-ish, right? And then you in between, you got the South, and so a lot of New Yorkers, and the funny thing, they say Atlanta is the port. No, it's the North Carolina, I believe, because it's like, you go there, half of the town is from New York, half of the town is from North Carolina. You feel me? And then don't get me started with, I don't know how, like the Mexicans, they kind of like took over North Carolina too. Because I didn't even know that either. I'm passing through Raleigh, Durham, and it's just like, whoa, this whole area is like so diversified in community. But going back, because I always go into these rants, going back into, you was rapping, the passion, the clothing brand. At what point in time did you say, you know what, I'm gonna make this my business? Like, I'm gonna start my brand.
Man, I never forget that when that happened. So I was in the 12th grade. And me and my man, we were sitting in the car. And I was like, yo, I want to design my own clothes. Cause, you know, at that time, by that time we had gotten into boosting, we had gotten into a whole lot of other stuff at that time. And so we was really into the name brands, and we was really into like having Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica, Polo, Cartier, you know what I'm saying, Gucci, all that. We was really into the brand name stuff, and you know, Coogee, Iceberg, Moschino. We had all of that. We was all about it. And I was looking in a magazine. I was looking at a Moschino ad, right? Moschino, where they used to hand paint, and I was like, and it was right beside the Moschino ad, it was a Tommy Hilfiger ad on the other page. And I had invested so much money and energy into Tommy Hilfiger, and I was like, man, one day I'm gonna design my own clothes. And then when I said it, it is why it's so engraved in my memory, is because I still go back to that day. I would go back to that day when we were sitting in that my best friend's truck, and I looked into that magazine and I said it. And then fast forward, it was about 4 years later, where I was in my crib. I called my friend up and I was like, yo, grab some paint. I said, I'm going to the garage. I said, yo, I'm gonna go to the store. We're gonna get some clothes. So we went to the thrift store, I got some clothes, and I went to Joann's and I got some puffy paint. And I came back home and we made these abstract designs with puffy paint on shirts. And we looked at it and we was like, yo, this is kind of dope. And so I made like 5 of them and then wore them to the club like the next night. People were like, yo, is that Moschino? Is that Moschino? I was like, nah, it's not. It's like, yo, what is that? And at this time we didn't have a name. We didn't know. I was just like, nah, it's just something, a little something special. You know what I mean? And got back in the lab, and me and my boy, we cranked out again. We made another couple joints. Then one of my boys, he had and I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but he had a store, and it was a lot of D-boys growing up. You know, everybody had hood dreams. And my man told me, he said, yo, you should kill the hood dream, you dig? And you should really focus on this clothing thing that you're doing right now. And he was like, I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna take 5 of your pieces, I'm gonna put it into my store, and then on Friday, come back and pick up your money. If you sold anything, I give you whatever you sell, I give you 80% of it. I'm gonna take 20%. I was like, bet. So he took like 4 or 5 shirts. I went back that next Friday, and I never forget, I picked up $600 from him. And I was like, yo. She's like, yeah, here you go. This is your bread. I was like, $600? I was like, I ain't never made that much money. Like, selling candy and anything else. I was like, not at one time. And so he's like, I really think you got something with this clothing thing, man. You need to focus on it. He said, other stuff, you need to let it go. Focus on this clothing thing. And I was like, all right, we'll see. But after that, everybody around town started wanting to wear this, because I'm seeing people go at the club and they wearing my t-shirts that I made, right? They're not even knowing it's my t-shirts. And so it's like, I'm starting to feel myself a little bit. And then, that's when I was like, you know what? I think I got something here. And I started I locked in. I started locking in.
So at the point of locking in, establishing, is this before or after you thought about the Web3 thing at all?
This was 20 years ago when I was a kid.
Okay.
So this was the very beginning of my idea around fashion. I had never thought about being a fashion designer other than that first time that I was in high school. And then, like I said, 4 years later, fast forward, we made the designs. And after we made the designs, we quickly, like literally that next week, we locked in and started, making the shirts, and my boy, it all kind of happened quickly. And then like I locked in. And so how I started off as fashion, I started off hand painting clothes. That's what I was doing. So I just really started locking in with that. And then I got accepted into a program at the Art Institute. A young lady I was dating at the time, she had submitted my portfolio and they gave me a call, and I was like, what? And then next thing you know, I had an opportunity to go to that school. And then I had an aunt that lived in LA, and she was like, hey, I live in LA, and she did fashion. And so one thing about me with fashion, it's always been embedded in my DNA. I can't say that I could be doing anything else in this world right now other than this, because this is something that has been embedded in my DNA since I was a kid. Because what I used to do, I used to go to the store, even though I couldn't afford to buy the nice clothes, I used to go into the store and just read the labels and just read what the material was. And I studied the material and the fabric, and I became so good at knowing fabric and knowing what stuff was made out of. And my aunt, she recognized that because she was in fashion. She was like, you a textile kid. You really should take this fashion stuff serious. And when she told me that, I was kind of like blew it over. I was like, nah, this ain't it. Because growing up, North Carolina, you don't really see men doing fashion, right? You didn't see men doing fashion at the time. It was very taboo. It's more recognizable now. Everybody's doing some stuff. But growing up, you didn't really see that. So for me, I looked at it like, oh, wow. You know what? Let me take a stab at it. When she said that to me, I really started to take it a little bit more serious after she was like, I really think that you got something special here. And the reason she said it is because I knew fashion, I knew content of fabric so well that I could look at a clothing and touch it and be like, all right, cool, that has 90% rayon, or that's 20% polyester, or this is that. Like, I was that good that I had never been to school or did anything. And she was like, yo, I think you should really pursue it.
Coming with something that you're passionate about, not understanding like protocol of how you go about things, but doing the recon and understanding what you're doing before you start doing it. Because a lot of people say, well, I want to do fashion, and they don't have the first clue about textiles and fabrics. Like, you say textiles, they'll be like, what? You mean the fabric? But that, I guess that came naturally to you because the influence of your family member, right?
No, no, it had nothing to do with it. It just came naturally to me because I love textiles that much. Like, I was that guy when I was that kid. My mom went and go and buy me nice stuff, but I was at the thrift. I would be feeling. I look in. That's what I do. I go into the mall, and we'll go into like Filene's or something like that, or some really some really nice store in the mall. And I go in and I just look through the department and look at stuff that had texture, and I open up and look in and read what it is and how it was made and where it came from. And that's it. And I was doing that early. I was doing that when I was a kid, and I have been doing that for years. So it was crazy because my friends reminded me too, because they used to come to me and ask me, yo, what's this made out of, bro? Like, what is this? Like, what's this fabric? Like, I could just know what that texture is. And then I started getting familiar with texture. And then later on, all the different textiles that they are in the world. And then, understanding the difference between fibers and natural fibers and synthetic fibers and all that. Without me going to school, I started studying it as if I already, like, it was something I was just fascinated about. So it didn't come from an influence of a family member or anything like that. When my aunt came in is when I met, this was my first time meeting this aunt, by the way, too. When I met her for the first time, she validated what I was doing and also who I was. And she let me know, you can stay in North Carolina and be nobody, or you can move to California and become who you want to become. And at that time, I was like, California, we can go check it out. And I ended up coming out here and staying with her, and the rest is history.
Okay, so Thread House. Talk to me about Thread House. Where did that come from?
So Thread House started. So like I was saying earlier, when my first business, I would say I opened up here. It was called the Gents Closet. So it was a men's style house where we would do men's styling and provide wardrobe makeovers for people. And it was like the first rental styling house that that I ever heard of in Los Angeles at the time. There was no male showrooms at the time or anything like that. And so I started Gents Closet, and I worked with a lot of different stylists, a lot of different brands. And so I opened up the style house as a way for stylists to be able to pull my clothes, like, because I was making ties and bow ties and neckties and all sorts of accessories at the time. And I also worked a full-time job working in mental health. And I always was missing people pulling my clothes. So I was like, well, let me open up my own business so stylists can come and pull for me when I'm at work. I could just have somebody sit at the office. They can come in, they can pull it, and they can use it for a photo shoot. That way I can get some press, and then I can take that to another level. So anyway, I end up working into my own business full time, and leaving my job, and started the Gents Closet. And that became my first passion, really, with this whole fashion thing. And Thread House became the in-house brand for the Gents Closet. So when people was pulling my stuff, at the time it was Equality Abstract Apparel, and then I converted that, and later on, when I did a remodel and a remake to my business, Thread House became the in-house brand for the Gents Closet. So that's how I got started.
That's dope. And I noticed that the logo is a sewing machine with a house with a thread going through. And dope concept. Where did that concept come from?
Because, man, I'm a conceptualist, man, and at the time I wanted to create I wanted someone to be able to look at my logo and get it. So I told my homeboy who was helping me with the design, I was like, yo, this is what we gonna do. We're gonna put the house inside the sewing machine. And he was like, what? I was like, look, think about it. The house inside of the sewing machine. And so we came back, we hit back, me and him, with different ideas, and he hit me back with that logo. And he was like, he said, what you think about this? I was like, yep, that's it. That's the one. And we ran with it. And what was so dope about it was I wanted something subliminal. So every part of the logo has messaging behind it. Because as we were designing, I was thinking about everything from the way Thread House is written. It has a T with a needle. The top of the T is a needle head. The top of the sewing machine is like a little T right there. The sewing machine top of the house is the triangle, which became significant later in the house. Like every part of the logo and the branding has meaning behind it. And I realized that was a powerful way for me to think about things. That's how I think about things. But I did not realize how powerful it was until later on in life. It started revealing itself of why I do the things that I do, why the colors mean things, why the placement mean things. And so with the logo, what was so beautiful was I thought about this early on, but I never thought about how it was going to show up. I wanted to create something that embodied and embraced the community and embraced the workers. So how does that work? So the community is kind of like, they're like the house. They're the foundation, right? But you need the people inside of the house to keep it working. That's the sewing machine. And so that's the people that's putting their blood, sweat, and tears into making sure this kind of goes together. But you need your supporters to buy it, to make sure that everything is running smoothly in the house. So like it simultaneously really began to show itself throughout the journey of what it is that what I created it for, and what it's becoming to this day.
That's really, really dope and really, really deep. And it's really, really thought out. So since this is beyond the blockchain, I want to talk about Thread House and your store and everything you got going on with the digital. Tell me about what is 3R.
Okay, R3.
Yeah, it's like this is what the blockchain is about. Like having entrepreneurs, startups, and businesses. A lot of people talk the tech stuff. They talk about these creative ideas. They talk about Star Wars and amazing stuff, but they don't actually have a physical, tangible website or a physical, tangible process that from beginning of concept, from idea to actually going there and buying it and owning the physical and digital together. And founder Manny Jackson, Thread House, has done it, and he's here to talk about it and talk about everything that he's got going on in this amazing website. And yeah, just talk about it. Let's go there.
All right, so R3 stands for Recycle, Repurpose, Reprogram. And we started the R3 initiative, to be honest, man, we started it as a way to raise money for a charity that I had called Hope Healing. And so Hope Healing came from the idea from my style house, where we kind of, three friends of mine that were stylists that was also doctors. And one day we were sitting around and we found out that we had this whole healthcare thing outside of fashion. And at the time, the president said her name is Dom, she says, yo, I'm tired of styling celebrities. She had just came back from a photo shoot with Elle magazine and somebody. And at the other time, the other young lady, her name is Haus, she was styling will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas. And I had the style house, so they was always pulling from me for their different clients. And we was just sitting around like, yo, how dope would it be if we could actually style kids or people that really care? And, you know, they worked at Children's Hospital, which is a hospital located out here in Los Angeles. And I worked for a nonprofit that worked with kids with developmental disability and autism. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to put together this whole entire day where we would provide a wardrobe makeover for youth with chronic illnesses, and we would go to the hospital and give these kids this beautiful wardrobe makeover and hook them up with some dope clothes, hook them up with, you know, a photo shoot, food, the whole thing, just love on them, right? Just make them feel like what we do for celebrities. Mm-hmm. And this one year, we was very short on funding our experience, and we decided we turned this into a whole nonprofit. And so we needed to raise money, and I decided to use my brand as a ticket to raise money. And I created 100 caps out of all recycled, repurposed material, 100 one-of-ones. And we sold them. And I sold them to raise money for our charity event, and also to raise information about what it was that we eventually wanted to do. And this became the R3 collection, Recycle, Repurpose, Reprogram. And it's so beautiful because we've been able to really capitalize off of what this idea is. And it didn't start off as an idea to capitalize off of. It just started off just genuinely, like I just shared with you. But these one-of-one hats later on kind of went into a collection of clothing that I was going to introduce with Champion, and then other brands that I started working with and other organizations. And it just kind of just morphed to where we did shoes and all sorts of stuff from all of this recycled material. And so recycling was a big part of our story and upcycling. And so now where R3 lives is all of this stuff is one of one. And I never realized at the time when I was doing it that I was making all of these as one of one. I thought I was just really like just making cool stuff. And I never thought about like the process of it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I saw the process and I'm like, yo, with this whole idea with Web3 technology, with all of the things that we're doing, why not give people more exclusivity around their product? And why not figure out a way to take that one-on-one and give them more ownership behind it? Why not tell the story of how we made it? And some of these pieces, man, have the story inside of it. It's really the story. Like, I give you a little bit of information. What I'm really excited about with this show that we're working on a really cool fashion exhibition, right? And one of the things that I'm very excited about is 3 of these pieces are pieces that I'm telling you about that went through 3 different phases in life. And when I say 3 different phases in life, that means it started off as a blank canvas that we used for people to tag up when we first started Thread House, and we didn't have a sign, and we just used to invite people to our events to tag up. And then that piece got cut into one of our signature pieces called a cloak, and it turned into, we made shoes out of this denim. We made all sorts of stuff out of this denim. And so that's the second life. And then the third life is it got upcycled into this piece, and then it got naturally dyed, right? So it started off as this one color, never sold it, then we dyed it naturally, and then now I just upcycled it again and turned it into one of our bags and made it a convertible bag now. So where I used pieces from other parts of the collection as well. And so it's just telling this overall history and this story. And I know we got to get ready to go, but I think this is where we are with Web3 technology. And what we're looking forward to is giving people an opportunity to authenticate what we did and who we are, trace it back, and also validate, you know, what you're doing and what you're wearing and everything. So there's no need to front about it. And when you can actually go back and look at the history, our clothing, we're expanding the life cycle, and our clothing is sharing our journey and our stories.
That's really, really dope. What are the 5 pillars?
Oh man, our 5 pillars, man. So they come from things that we've been all about since we started and never really knew this is what we were doing. And when I sat back and I looked at my journey and I said, yo, what is my brand really based on? What am I really based on? What are the things that really move me? The 5 pillars are community. So I've already kind of told you about how we done things for our community with our whole healing initiative and different things, going out, feeding people and giving away shoes and using our resources to do things. And education, well, we created an educational program where we wanted to teach people how to be more sustainable, give them tools, teach them about sewing tips and tricks and stuff like that. It's just always education. You're educating people on the processes of that we're going through and how we're growing. Innovation, well, the technology that we're using with Web3 and all of the ways that we're looking to be more innovative. And not just that, our clothing is innovative as well because it's all multifunctional, and it keeps people, gives people a reason to save on their clothing and their wardrobe, right? And then we have creativity. Creativity is such a important thing to me because I'm a creative, and I think anything and everything that we do in this world is all about creating. And then sustainability, how our whole brand is being built on, and where we're taking all old clothes, we're taking stuff and just remaking it and giving it new life and expanding on the life cycle. So that's the breakdown of our 5 pillars.
That's really, really dope. 2 things. My partner Yuri always asks these questions. 1, a book that you're currently reading, and 2, a book that have changed your life.
As a man thinketh, is a book that changed my. I can't remember the author right now. It escapes me. But and what book am I reading right now? It's right there on my thing. Rich Man, Poor Dad. No. Think and Grow Rich. I'm rereading Think and Grow Rich because I'm encouraging my son to read it again. We read it a long time ago, but now he's 16. I'm 42. It's been some time since we read it, and I think that mentally it's going to show me a different way of where I'm at now in life, and I think it's going to show him a different way of where he's at in life as well. And so that's what I'm currently reading. And there's another book that I really like by this lady. I can't remember that lady's name either. She's a author, Mel something. I can't remember Mel's last name, but she has a book. It's Unfuck Yourself. And that book is really cool because it really gets you out of your mind of lack, doubt, and also taking accountability.
Tell them how they can find Threads House, how they can get to your project, and be a part of the community. And before you, last thing, but how can people get that hat you got on?
Oh, this hat. This hat. Okay. This hat that I'm wearing is an exclusive hat between me and a good friend of mine. Remember I was telling you we do a lot of collabs. It's called Stuzo. And this is where I took some of her old sweatshirts and her old merch, and we made these hats. We made these hats very limited. So we would have to rerun these with her again. So that's what that is. I think there might be one or two left on the website, maybe, I don't know. But send me a DM, and then because I make them, so I can always hit her up and say, hey, people want us to remake these hats again. So that's that. And where you can get my merchandise and get some of the new merchandise that we have coming out is you can visit us at Thread Haus. Haus is spelled HAUS.co. threadhouse.co. That is us on all platforms, on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X, Pinterest, as well as LinkedIn, Facebook. Everywhere is Threadhouse Co. And Haus is once again spelled HAUS.
Oh, I just want you to run over a few things. I've seen that you got incubators and crowdfunding on your site.
Yeah.
So just give me a little.
Okay, so last year, so what brought us into Web3? We didn't get a chance to talk about this much. Well, what brought us into Web3 was we was creating an incubator program. So remember, one of our 5 pillars is education. And so one of the reasons we was creating an incubator program was we wanted to give people an opportunity to learn how to be more sustainable, how to practice DIY. And we created this Learn to Earn program. And we wanted to evolve this. And so in order for us to raise money and awareness, I created this idea for this incubator, and you wanted to use Web3 technology to give people opportunity to fund what we were doing. That led more into this new project around mental health awareness, right? But the whole idea around the incubator is it's still existing. It's still part of the reason we're doing this NFT collection, the reason that we're speaking about the things that we're speaking, because I really believe that each one teach one. I believe that we all have skills that we can learn from, and why not create a space where someone can have a skill, they can come in and teach a skill, and then someone can not have a skill and they can come in and learn a skill. And why not trade this together, because we all have access to different information and different knowledge as well, and experiences. And I think it's so valuable if we're utilizing our resources in a way where we're teaching one another and educating each other, versus just talking about things that's cool or not working or what is working. Why not teach each other how to make it work?
That's really cool. You have
And the
weekly calls?
crowdfunding, huh?
You have your weekly calls, don't you?
Yeah, so I've been doing right now, I'm not doing a weekly call anymore, but what I'm doing now is I'm just getting everybody geared up for our event that's taking place January the 26th, 2024, at a gallery here in West Hollywood called the Art Department, which is a very influential Web3 community space. And we're excited because we're going to take over the art department for 3 weeks, collaborating with about 10 different artists. And we're releasing a collection around our mental health movement, and then also a collection that's inspiring dope dads, to celebrate dope dads. And I'm so excited about this collection because the more I get closer and closer to it, the more people remind me that dope dads need love too. And I'm excited that I've taken on this undertaking and I'm standing firm with it. You know, everybody's like, why you ain't do dope moms, or why you didn't do this, or why you didn't do that. But I'm able to say moms are loved. Everybody loves the moms, you know, and it's all good. I love the moms too. But
yeah, because moms get flowers and rings and all of this stuff and diamonds on Mother's Day's trips. Dad gets a sweater or a tie.
Or some socks. Or some, you know, and so we created this whole Dope Dad series, and I honestly think that we're gonna sell out. I know we're gonna sell out. We're gonna get a lot of support on this. And I'm excited more than anything. I'm just excited to walk down the street, man, and see somebody wearing a Dope Dad sweater. I had a lady stop me yesterday, man. This is just real quick. I had a lady stop me yesterday, and she liked my shirt, and so she was looking. She was like, "I want one of these shirts," and she didn't know that it said Dope Dad. She just liked the carrots on it. And then I told her, I said, "Oh," she's like, "Oh, what is this shirt? What does that other shirt say that he's wearing?" I was like, "Oh, it says Dope Dad," and she was like, I'm not a dope dad though. And her friend comes and said, "But you got a dope dad." And then she was like, "I do got a dope dad." I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, I could wear that shirt, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "All right, I'm gonna order 2 of them." She was like, "Wow." She's like, "I want to order one for me, and I'm gonna order one for my dope dad." And that just inspired me to keep pushing, and it inspired me that I was on the right track, and it inspired me it inspired me to say that, you know, it's okay to stick to your crazy ideas, because people may be, you know, it might take you a long time, but you got to stick to it, especially if you believe it. And I do believe that dope dads need to be celebrated. So
yeah, I gotta give you one of those shirts too, because I'm a dope dad and I got a dope dad and I know some dope dads.
there it is, man. And you know what's really dope, man, just real quick, is our event is definitely happening here in California, but we're also going to have it virtually as well. So we're going to live stream it, and we got a metaverse with it and all this stuff. So, you know, people will be able to get the swag, the swag right now is on sale. It'll go up a week before the show. The NFTs and stuff are on sale. All of that stuff is rocking and rolling, man. And so if people are listening and want to still join in, they can actually they'll be able to live stream right into the spatial gallery as well. So, and they can get there right off our website too. So
that's dope. I'm looking forward to it. I've been saying dope all day, right? Dope. That's dope. That's dope. Dope dad.
yeah, yep. That goes to show you how much our 90s culture has influenced us, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows the term dope.
Yeah.
You know, when we say, "Yo, that's dope," everybody knows what that means. Then at one point in time, your grandma be looking at you, what you talking about? Those are drugs.
This is Beyond the Blockchain. Great interview. Manny Jackson, Thread House. Make sure you go look and check out what he got going on. We're gonna figure out we're gonna do our collabo. Uh UCOC, United Colors of Crypto. But thank you. And anything else you got to say? Leave the people with something?
Oh man, that's it, man. Believe in all your crazy ideas, and everything. Yo, Ab, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak on this. I'm so excited about all of the amazing people that you're going to continue to bring on this show. I'm excited about the growth of the show, and I'm excited that you took the risk to do this, and you're staying. You're going to stay steadfast with it, you know, and everything. By the way, also I have a podcast as well. It's called Pace Yourself, Not Race Yourself. It's really a mixtape just about this mental health journey that some of us are on. I invite you all to listen to it. Like I said, it's a mixtape, so it's randomly when we'll put out an episode. But the cool thing, it ties right back into this collection and ties into the clothing as well. It's on all platforms, Spotify, iTunes, everything. So just a little selfish drop.
Oh, so because you every time you talk, you bring me to another place. How important is it to be consistent as an entrepreneur in this space?
It's very important to stay. It's important to stay consistent, but the most important thing is to have discipline, and the most important thing is to keep trying. That's the most important thing. Just keep trying, because days I don't feel like I'm consistent at all, but when I look back, I see my consistency. I see that I never gave up. I'm never giving up. You know, I look back and you see these videos playing behind me is my journey of me being consistent and never giving up and trying. So that's what's important.
On that note, we are out.
Peace.
My son last year designed a character at the age of 14 by the name of Innovat. And Innovat was basically his idea and concept of his dad going through his own journey. And so what inspired me to actually take Innovat and now make Innovat, which is our digital brand ambassador for Thread House, really give Innovat more substance.
Add tracks on the beat.
Meet up in New York City. I am Abby Harris, your host today.
What up, what up? Welcome to Beyond the Blockchain. I am your host, Abby Harris.